Good afternoon, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, sorry.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning. Um,
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Happy weekend, ma'am.
I'm very excited. Thank you to have my weekend begin with classes. Anyway, um, so the last thing that I think we were discussing was political ecology.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, and I had already told you people about one case study, and I had told you how, the world policies, the global environmental policies were panning out, keeping in mind various things like the political agenda of a party and a lot of other things. And I haven't had the chance to follow the environmental impact assessment policy, but it seems that it was quite um, debatable and controversial. I don't know, I haven't had the chance to go through it. Any one of you who has seen the EIA or has studied the EIA, can anyone shed light on that?
Ma'am, this year's EIA, right?
Of course, yes.
Ma'am, it's about it's decreasing the laws and permissions that these industries like coal and mining industries have to take to set up their plants and in the factories, and it's bad for very dangerous for the climate. I mean, I think this is related to that. Not on point, but it is related to that.
Okay, all right. Um, so that has been kind of the assessment that probably this particular environmental impact assessment policy has not taken into consideration the permits in that stringent manner as it used to. That's what you mean, I suppose. So maybe I haven't read it, so I don't know. But uh, as you can understand, the political agenda here is quite important, and it is because of this even a policy document gets affected. All right. So when I told you people about political ecology, I told you how it came to prominence in the 1980s and the 1990s, and the relevant political and economic theories had an impact. And this is the reason why terms like environmental exploitation and environmental conservation came into being. Okay. And there were many organizations that were set up to look into the aspect of conservation. And when I was talking about policy making organizations, I had told you about UNFCCC, IPCCC, and uh, you know many other United Nations apex bodies that primarily focus on the aspect of environmental policy assessment and policy impact and even policy building. However, organizations like World Wildlife Fund, IUCN, and many other organizations actually focus on the aspect of conservation. Now, you need to understand that In political ecology, you will primarily talk about the resource management, uh, which is some which is something which is very significant. I'm sorry for this. Just yeah. So resource management is a very significant part of you can say environmental policy making, because it is this part. Just a moment. Yes. So I was just saying that resource allocation and resource management is probably one of the most important things that has been covered under the, you can say, under the broad topic of political ecology. And much of political ecology is actually based on resource in contemporary societies, how the resources are owned up by communities, what is considered as common and what is not considered as common, what is considered as private property, how these resources, natural resources, are divided, how these natural resources are owned by entire communities, or owned by, you can say, um, corporations, how they take environmental responsibilities, all of these things, how do they set targets, green targets, all of these things fall in the category of resource management. Now, the second category through which we try to understand political ecology is through the narrative of modernization. Okay, what happens to small scale indigenous societies when modernization and development takes place? Okay, so these are the two aspects that you would be focusing on whenever you are going to look at um, ecology. But you need to also remember one thing, that in political ecology, many times what happens is that ecologists have a tendency of criticizing development. And when they criticize development, they reduce, local rural communities and indigenous communities as mere victims. Okay, and that is one of the biggest problems that people have faced, is that globalization and development has been demonized. Okay, the demonization means that it has been considered as evil, it has been considered as destructive, it has been considered as problematic. Now, while I agree that unprecedented development can lead to various concerns and issues, um, the problem is that when you say that a particular developmental initiative is going to be bad from the very beginning, what are you doing to the community? Can anyone tell me what are you perceiving the community as?
Ma'am, if we are talking about this scenario, so we are exactly perceiving them as mere victims only, because
Yeah.
all of which we think is that they will lose their land, they will lose their businesses if they are doing any businesses, or the kind of economic pattern that they are. So at the end of the day, we make them the mere victims only.
No, but I'm just saying that when you talk about something as mere victimhood, or when you reduce a particular community as mere victims, and you constantly look at development initiatives as some kind of evil force that are, you know, mixing and ruining their social organization or their social systems, then in that case, what is it that you are doing to the victim, to sorry, to the community? What is it that you're doing? You're doing one thing, and you need to understand that. Have you seen those movies with that have cliffhangers?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the meaning of those movies that have cliffhangers? Can anyone tell me that?
Ma'am, maybe another part may come out somewhere in near future.
Okay, what else?
That there's more to the story than we have shown you
Okay,
already.
Sometimes they leave it for the audience
It's left.
interpretation.
yes. Somebody
Yes,
said, I think Georgian said, that they leave it for the audience to perceive, right? What does it mean? It just means something uh, like I'm giving the audience enough credit for being intelligent enough to devise their own conclusion. Are you getting my point? So many times there's going to be no second part, there's going to be no sequel. Many times there's going to be, no alternative ending. What they are going to do, what they have basically done is that they have not considered their audience as dumb. Rather, they have given their audience due credit for being intelligent and devising their own conclusion and deriving their own conclusion. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So having a cliffhanger doesn't necessarily mean that the person was trying to, be all business oriented by saying, I may make another movie. The person was actually giving audience the due credit for being immersed and involved enough in the story that people who make or who write stories are very possessive. People know that they are very possessive of their story. They don't like anyone meddling with it. But if there is a director and if there is a movie maker who is bold enough, who is smart enough to give that right to the audience to devise their own stories and plot lines at the end, that person is probably very fearless, because audience can come up with fan fiction, and that fan fiction can range from one storyline to a complete twist in the plot. And there are so many things people can come up with as part of their invention, as part of their innovation. So uh, it becomes very important for directors, for movie makers to realize how involved is my audience in my story. Is it just about a viewing experience, or is it an actual emotion into that story? Now, why did I talk about this cliffhanger when I'm talking about political ecology and I'm talking about this whole idea of ecological initiatives around the world, and I'm critiquing development? Well, what happens is that no community, yes, I agree, there are times when communities have been displaced rather unfairly by whichever body which has decided to construct something, or to claim the land, to lay a claim on the land. But most of the time, it is the community that is also the decision making stakeholder that decides to sell their land or to sell their property in order to get some developmental initiative, reap the benefits of some developmental initiatives. Now, obviously, when you critique every development initiative as evil, then what would you rather have? would you not have roads? Would you not have bridges? Would you not have buildings and apartments? Like lot of us who have the pleasure of living in houses that are not a part of apartment, we don't feel that we have been denied a part of the sky or a piece of land. We always believe that we are not hanging in between. Rather, we have a house of our own, and in that house, we can grow things, we can see the sky as well as walk on the land and lay claim on the land. But not everyone is that fortunate. The population explosion is so high that if we were to expand horizontally, then there would be no space left for trees, there would be no space left for any public initiative or public facility. However, if we have um, a vertical growth, then the possibility of horizontal growth of natural elements is there. So, as a result of that, human beings have to actually compromise in living in an apartment or living in that kind of a culture. So, always critiquing development as evil and thinking that development is some kind of a vile agency that intends to always lead us into destruction is actually a problematic uh, you know point of view. The reason for that is that whenever we talk about community and we talk about them as mere victims, well, we forget that the community itself has a lot of knowledge about their flora and fauna. Uh, just look at this incident of was it a black buck that was that was killed by this actor, which the
Yes, ma'am.
Vishnui community, it was a
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
it
ma'am.
was a black buck. And well, to a lot of people, the community should be a helpless victim. But as you can see, they were not helpless at all. They take their ecology so seriously that they legally sued the actor. And it has become a curse for him in many ways. He cannot go out of the country. He cannot, without the permission of the magistrate, he cannot travel. He cannot move freely. He has to constantly, because he's out on bail most of the time. So there's no reason as to why this community should have been seen as helpless or should have been seen as a community which cannot take care of itself. So, with all the development around, what if they were not educated? Well, they did not would not have had any option of taking any legal action or counter action in response to the killing of that animal. However, they could take it because they were educated and they knew the laws protecting an endangered species. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a moment. Just give me a moment. I'm trying to show you something. Just give me a moment.
It's important to note that ecofeminism, each one of us has an ecological footprint, an imprint of our
Can you
own
see and
consumption.
hear?
But take a step back and think about humanity's.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see and hear?
Each one of us has an ecological footprint, an imprint of our own consumption. But take a step back and think about humanity's global footprint on the Earth. Humans have had such a massive impact on the planet. We have altered Earth systems so much that geologists have named the current geologic time period the Anthropocene, or the age of humans. This is a grand view of humanity's impact on the Earth. But what does this actually look like? In this video, I plan to introduce and explain one lens through which we can think about human relationships to one another and to the Earth, ecofeminism. Many of you probably haven't heard of the term, so let's break it down. The prefix eco comes from ecology, or the study of living organisms and their environment. Feminism, in its most basic sense, relates to the advocacy for gender equality and women's rights. But what do these two ideas have to do with each other? Using gender as a vantage point, ecofeminism examines the conditions that cause and perpetuate the subordination of both women and nature. Think about it as a lens for examining intersections of oppression, harmful practices that exploit the environment, and social structures that oppress women, among other groups, have an overlap, and that is what ecofeminism is all about. It is important to note that ecofeminism is an umbrella term that encompasses a plurality of ideas. It can be credited for such wide-ranging concerns, but this has also made it disjointed and hard to unify as a movement. Even so, it is useful as a feminist and environmental theory. If ecofeminism is an umbrella, what is the storm that it's resisting? Ecofeminists believe the larger structure of society is a system of capitalist patriarchy. Let's break this term down too. Capitalist refers to the economic system that derives profit from private production by keeping wages low enough that workers generate surplus value. Patriarchy is the systematic domination of women by men through institutions and ways of thinking which assign higher value, privilege, and power to men. As a whole, capitalist patriarchy is the ways in which capitalism gives men control over and access to resources not given to women. The result is that nature, as resources, and women, as workers, both function as means to a profitable end. Scholars like Drs. Vandana Shiva and Karen Warren highlight two key facets of capitalist patriarchy. First, it is maintained through value hierarchical thinking. This means that we organize society into hierarchies so that different groups or characteristics are considered more valuable than others. Second, many of these values are further organized through oppositional value dualisms. These are either-or pairs that are exclusive and at odds with each other. So if power is organized through hierarchies and opposing dualities, what are some examples? The most obvious is the gender binary, which values masculinity over femininity. Ecofeminism comes in when we conceptually link different dualities to reinforce the existing tiered structure. The specific parallel that I want to hone in on is between nature and women. Since we are living in the Anthropocene, it's no shocker that in this opposing duality, humans are valued above nature. Animals and plants are recognized as inferior beings with less worth and less dignity. That's how we justify factory farming, monoculture agriculture, and any other practice that wreaks havoc on the environment. Linguistically, women are linked to nature. Think about it. We exploit Mother Earth, we cut down virgin timber, and we plow fertile soil. We feminize nature and naturalize women. reinforcing their mutual subordination in the process. Empirically, women play a predominant role in agricultural production and the managing of household economies, especially in developing countries. Consequently, women are among the most vulnerable to droughts, storms, floods, and other environmental harms. For example, 663 million people across the globe, that's 1 in 10, lack access to safe water. In many developing countries, the burden of providing water for drinking, washing, cooking, and cleaning is placed on women. According to the World Health Organization, 3/4 of households without access to drinking water task women and girls with the responsibility of collecting it. This can mean walking miles and carrying heavy loads of water that often may still be contaminated. The UN estimates that women and girls often spend up to 6 hours each day collecting water. That's 42 hours a week, or the equivalent to a full-time job. This impacts girls' ability to go to school and consequently their upward social mobility in society. As climate change increases the severity of extreme weather events and water scarcity, it is the lives and livelihoods of women and girls that will suffer first and suffer the most. What about an example that hits closer to home? How we dress is a huge part of how we perform gender. For decades, the price of clothing has decreased while the human and environmental costs have grown dramatically. 97% of the items we wear are now made overseas, and 85% of all garment workers are women. With the rise of fast fashion, the average American now generates 82 pounds of textile waste each year, making fashion the second most polluting industry behind oil. It's a race to the bottom as global fashion brands seek out the cheapest and most exploitable labor in countries with the fewest regulations. Women are separated from their children, beaten when trying to unionize, and even killed in factory disasters. In the end, the cost of that $4 Forever 21 crop top is far more than we realize. But all is not lost if we remember that domination is neither justified nor inevitable. Capitalist patriarchy threatens all forms of life, human, flora, and fauna, but it is a system that we all work to uphold. Consciousness is the crucial first step in deconstructing the system and fighting these intersections of oppression. We must acknowledge that we are part of an interconnected system of life that supports our survival. Therefore, we should strive to live harmoniously, not as dominators, men over women and humans over nature, but as partners with every other life form on the planet. It may be the age of humans, but our story doesn't have to be a tragedy, and ecofeminism can help us write a new chapter.
Um,
Look around you.
okay, so students, what do you have to say for this video? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, could you follow the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what do you have to say?
Ma'am, that ecofeminism may be the way of resolving all of our environmental as well as gender inequality issues in the uh, like that we face today.
Ecofeminism is an old concept. I just want to tell you, Vasundhara, it is an old concept. It is not a new concept. It is not a concept that has been introduced today. It has been there. I
Ma'am,
don't, if you,
nobody's actually understanding that, right?
no,
Like
no,
in
I
all of
don't
the
want to
ecological
no,
Yes,
no,
ma'am.
Vasundhara, my point is not to ask you about ecofeminism per se. What I'm trying to know is, could you understand how she talked about development and capitalism as patriarchal, and how she looked at nature and talked about earth as um, women and earth as nurturing mother goddess. Are you
Yes, ma'am.
are you able to understand that duality? What about the rest of the class?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, what was that example about the pet dog and pet rock, something that like that?
Which one?
There was an example in between. I didn't get it completely. She made a
Ma-
pyramid kind of thing and said a pet rock, pet cat, and a pet dog, pet cat, and pet rock, and something about owning.
It
Okay.
was hierarchical pyramid.
Yeah, it was the hierarchical nature in which we put everything. See, that is what, how do I say? Um, See, one of the things that people don't realize, and this is something I have often told you, that to man, controlling nature comes very naturally. Okay, to human beings, controlling nature comes very naturally. They don't even know where they are being patriarchal in their approach. So, the whole idea of hierarchy that she was talking about is very simple, um, when you people look at an animal, okay, that is nice, that is cute, that is adorable, and that is reciprocating your affection, what do you want to do? You want to bring that animal home, and you want to keep that animal with you, and sometimes you begin calling it your pet. Are you understanding? And the word pet is very problematic, because the reason why it is problematic is because people don't even understand, you know uh, if I say I had a pet dog, what does it mean? It is a sentence which is laden with many meanings. Okay, how? It's very simple. I say I had a pet dog, which means that the animal, God put animal, or nature put animal on this planet to be free, and our need to get some kind of emotional fulfillment and some kind of a fulfillment of control made us get that pet. Now you'll say, but I was doing it a favor, but by bringing it home, otherwise it would have been on the road and it would have died. But imagine how many people have actually encouraged illegal breeding of animals, especially exotic species of animals, because they want to have a specific variety of or specific species as pets. Even there, they want to control nature. They, like, very simply, when you move around in an illustrious or in a very well-to-do society, you will find, what is that dog, huskies in India. In my colony, I've seen two huskies. Do you know what a husky animal is, or a husky
Yes,
dog is?
ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
yeah. So when I see two people very affectionate towards that dog, but my immediate response to that is, if you love dogs so much, why do you need a husky? Why have you paid 1 lakh rupee, or maybe less or maybe more, to get a husky? Because you have a likeness for that. But just because you like that animal was supposed to live in the snow. It was not supposed to come to India and live in severe tropical heat conditions. Why would you bring that animal? Aren't you cruel there? Just to have a pet animal, and that too an exotic animal, to convey. the hierarchical nature of the society, you've brought an animal, you will say, Are, I have given that animal an entire room which is fully air conditioned. But is that animal's biology going to adjust to an air condition? Can you create a room full of snow for that animal? Can you do that? You can't do that. So are you getting my point? When people say I have a pet dog, I have a pet animal, where the problem lies? The problem lies in the fact that pet means that you, because people enduringly call their partners as pet too. So what it means is, whatever I will say, it will follow. I have domesticated it. I have made that animal answer to my tunes. What is the need of asking a dog to shake hands? Please tell me that. What is the need for the dog to, use bathrooms to defecate or urinate? What is the need for that? It was born, it was put on this planet to serve specific purpose. So how are you less cruel than an average Chinese who's consuming dog meat? You are actually keeping an animal in captivity, and then you are actually messing with that animal's freedom and life in general. Are you getting my point? Why there are many responsible, you can say, eco restoration volunteers who oppose this whole idea of, you know, animals being treated as pets, animals being domesticated, or animals being forced to behave like human beings. They were not born to do that. Okay. I have seen animals being restricted to 700 square feet. What is the point? You cannot give them what they were born to take on their own. Probably their survival is better on the roads. They may die, but again, they are dying because of your vehicle, not because of their own deeds. They are dying because there is a speeding vehicle. So are you getting my point, Georgian? Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I know it is something which is very problematic. Kids feel that because they love animals, they should have pet animals, and I completely understand that. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. Historically, the whole idea of keeping a pet is like domesticating and transforming the nature of that animal. There are certain animals that are less aggressive and can be easily domesticated, but there are other animals that cannot be easily domesticated. You cannot domesticate a tiger, and therefore you never dare to call a tiger your pet. But at the same time, how do you control a tiger? By keeping it in the zoo or by shooting it like a wild animal. So basically, the whole idea here is that of patriarchal control. This is what ecofeminism was all about. Yes, Vasundhara, you were saying something. I'm sorry I interrupted, because I wanted specific idea to be instilled in all of you with regard to ecofeminism, and I wanted to clarify the fact that ecofeminism is not a new theory. It is a political ecological idea, and it comes with its own set of criticisms. Okay. So but the good thing about ecofeminism is that it says that because around the world women are more in sync with nature, it is very significant to give women the benefit of being the repository of knowledge about nature. They are capable of understanding nature, and so do men. Okay? Are you getting my point, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is exactly what I was like moving towards only. Like
Yeah.
women, when they know and they can cater to the needs and they understand better, we have seen evidences of the same. Why not put it in their not just like not put it in their hands. That's like nature is not at our mercy. It's far greater than us. But just so that if
You are
we
trying
can
to say
preserve.
that in policy making, women should be,
Yes, ma'am.
given, yeah, a
Yes,
dominant
ma'am.
position. But then the world is patriarchal, so it is very difficult. And whenever,
Ma'am, what? Why is it patriarch? Ma'am, why can't we change that?
no, it is an illusion to think it has. I personally believe that patriarchy is one of the most successful systems. Um, Good or bad is a matter of value judgment, but it is one of the most successful systems that the world has witnessed, and that is why it has carried on. Because you need to understand one very important thing: patriarchy makes the perpetuation of human species possible. There is no other system that makes perpetuation of human species as successful as patriarchy. If you think from that perspective, then you will understand why patriarchy is so significant.
So, ma'am, patriarchy doesn't necessarily means that dominance of men. It just means dominance of humans over nature. Like if we think in that perspective.
Patriarchy just means that it is a system that will privilege the stronger, um, how do I say this? This patriarchy simply means that it is a system in which everyone is a victim. If you think that men are not a victim, then you are wrong. If you think that women are the only victims of patriarchy, you are mistaken. And this is why, people don't understand feminism and patriarchy very well.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
the, the reason for that is that when I say patriarchy, patriarchy just means domination of um, the vulnerable, domination of the weak, and it is a system that favors the stronger, the dominant group. Okay, that can be a group of high caste women, and there can be no men present, but it can be a group of high caste women dominating lower caste women. It can be a group of educated bureaucrats dominating a group of tribals, where both men and women can be the bureaucrats and both men and women can be the tribals. Are you getting my point?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Patriarchy doesn't mean that it is systematically favoring man. No, it just happens that man is in the favorable position. Okay, but if there are only men, then also there is patriarchy. There are no women, only men, then also there is patriarchy. Are you getting my point,
Yes, ma'am.
everyone?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this is what I was talking to you about, that when you talk about ecofeminism primarily focuses on this idea. In fact, this video that I showed you, वहाँ पे one thing that she said I object to is the fact that patriarchy is oppression of women and feminine. Oppression of feminine I accept, but oppression of women I don't accept, because if a woman is stronger than other women, then she starts oppressing other weaker women. That's also patriarchy. Okay, so it is just the systematic oppression of the vulnerable and the weak. And when we say that development is masculine and nature is feminine, we are just trying to simplify the problem of patriarchy. We are just trying to simplify the whole outlook of looking at ecological concerns. Okay, is it clear? From my side, political ecology is complete. Okay, I will begin with historical ecology in on Monday. So I'll stop here. Happy weekend, happy rest of the weekend to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. I think Stanzin has been facing a lot of network issue today. She has been connecting and disconnecting for a long time. I could see that. Anyway, I've downloaded your attendance. And so next Saturday, I don't. I think the schedule will be you will have a 9:15 class because it will be the Tuesday schedule which will be published. Okay, so that is why. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.